Hey everybody, part two of the types of sources and how to use them series, I guess. We talked about the books in the first one, and now we're going to talk about the academic journal before we get to the database. Okay, the academic journal compared to the book, it's kind of the opposite. The book is very broad and vague. All right. The academic journal is actually not necessarily a book done by one person that's very broad and vague and takes so long to get out. It's kind of the opposite. The book is done by one person focusing on one particular area. An academic journal is kind of like, say, a magazine, but it's much more academic. It's what they call it. It's not easily digestible. It is something made for people particularly in that field, experts and professionals in that field. And it's written by experts. So it's more like a collection of essays. Journals are like collections of essays done by these pros who have done the research. So, number one, here's the big deal, the difference between the book and the research, the academic journal. The essays in the journal are not broad like a book. They are very specific, and I mean very deep and very specific. And they'll beat the dead horse, I promise you. They are very detailed. That's one reason why academic journals are good. They'll give you enough information. Number two, books may not necessarily, like I said, be outdated, but they take a little while to get out. And a lot of times the information they're getting is coming from academic journals. That's because the academic journal is where the cutting edge information and research comes out. So say you're dealing with health. Anytime there's a new discovery in science or in the health field or anything in that particular area, it will go to the academic journals first before they go anywhere else. Before they goes to magazines, before it goes to newspapers, radio, TV, books, before it goes anywhere like that, they go to the journals. Okay, so that's the first place it goes. Cutting edge information. And also, it's what we call peer reviewed. You'll see that a lot. Peer reviewed means experts in that field vetted and tore apart that paper pretty much and made sure it's where it needs to be and it's in tip-top shape and it's factual before they allow it to be published. So we know, same with books, but really definitely pushed with peer-reviewed journals. We know that the information that we're getting is cutting edge and definitely detailed and trustworthy to an extent. I could use air quotes with that because we'll see when we get to evaluating sources how some things you need to keep in mind when you're looking at any kind of source. So anyway, there are your books. There are your academic journals, okay? The last thing I want to talk about is the database. Now, this is where I was going to start in the last video, but I realized I needed to say something about the journals first. Okay, back in the day, if you wanted to access a journal, an academic journal, you had to literally go physically to the library and go through rows and rows and rows of hundreds of journals, okay? And that was just time consuming and terrible, frankly. So what someone's bright idea of probably very rich now said, hey, I have an idea, especially with the internet going. Let's take a picture of all of these or retype them, put them on our website and sell access to them all. And that's exactly what it is. So the database, when you get the handouts and the tutorials, and if you go to the library and get help with librarians, you'll see that a database is a website. It's a lot more technical. It's not as fun and easy as Google or Yahoo, but it's like a website in which you can search primarily for books, ebooks, and mainly academic journals. You can search, and if you find what you need, you can see the PDF versions. And I always recommend you get the PDF if you can. But the PDF versions are as if someone went and took a picture of the journal. So instead of you going and physically getting it, finding it through thousands and thousands of these, because that's what it's come to now, and finding the right article in that one journal, in that one row, in that one shelf, in that one library, instead of doing that, you can just search it, find it, and see it and print it or email it to yourself. Very easy, very simple. But that's what the database is. It gives you access to all of those, all right? So there are many ways to use it. It can be very confusing, but it can be very easy. I'll give you more on that later. But the database is where you will go to get access to academic journals and your books, okay? I only have two rules when it comes to digging through getting your sources ready for your papers at this level. And I'm going to send announcements out and mention this before, but here are the two rules. Number one, you cannot use, right now I don't want you to use any websites, okay? Number two, you must use one academic journal, okay? You can have, that's the minimum. You can have 2 academic journals, you can have a book in an academic journal, you can whatever, but you can only, or you cannot use any less than 1 academic journal. This is will force everybody to get into the database, find 1 journal entry. You have to have at least 1 academic journal from the database as your source, okay? Anyway, there's that. And if y'all have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to go into more videos as we go, but right now I think this is good, and I'll talk more later on particularly how to put them in and use them, but I want to get the videos, I want to get the other videos, I think I already have those ones videos up. I want to get the handouts ready for you guys. So let me get that for you first, and then we'll go into discussing that, okay? Until then, have a good one.